Good evening. Welcome to the University of Hong Kong. My name is Zhang Yonghe in Mandarin. I'm the Dean of the Faculty of Architecture here. I have to admit that I'm more nervous than Matthias at this very moment. So anyway, today we are very delighted to have our alumnus, Matthias, back on campus to give us a lecture. Mathias studied architecture at Hong Kong U, and then to the AA Architectural Association in London in the 1990s. But unlike most architecture graduates who would went on to pursue a career in architectural practice, Matthias has been dedicating himself wholeheartedly to experimental theater for more than 3 decades. And now he is the co-artistic director and executive director of Zuni Icosahedron. This afternoon I practiced that word, icosahedron, many times, while thinking maybe you could take on my name, our office name, which is called 非常建筑. They say 非常 theater. That would be a lot easier to pronounce. But anyway, so this is a very renowned experimental theater group based in Hong Kong. A pioneering director, scriptwriter, designer, producer, and curator, Mathias has created more than 80 theater works over the years, many of which have been staged worldwide and known for their unique take on space and technology. What is even more fascinating for me as an architect, myself of course, is how Matthias has taken architecture as a point of departure for his innovative stage productions, such as his multimedia architecture music theater series, where he turned theater into an interdisciplinary laboratory, pushing the boundaries of architecture, drama, music, and the digital technology in tributes to Le Corbusier, Kahn, and Mies van der Rohe. Matthias also founded and curated the Architecture is Art Festival in 2009 as Hong Kong's first art festival with the theme of architecture to explore the limitless creative possibilities in architecture and theater through performances, exhibitions, talks, and seminars. To great demand, the festival returned to 3 more times. In addition, other productions inspired by architecture by Matthias include A Tale of the Forbidden City, 100 Years of Chinese Architecture, and The Architecture of the City. So by the way, the second one features 4 people, actually 2 couples. It's Liang Sicheng and Lin Huiyin, who I never had a chance to meet, and also Zhang Xin and Pan Shi, who were my clients, by the way, the 2 developers. So it's very interesting to see how the 2 scholarly architects and the 2 developers will be in the same play. This evening, Matthias will give a lecture entitled Theater as Architecture, which is the second lecture of our More Than Architecture lecture series in celebration of the faculty's 75th anniversary this year, of course. The lecture series is organized with the belief that while architecture as a discipline has a clearly defined core that focuses on the intervention in the tangible environment, architecture, however, is also very open on the periphery, informed by knowledge from the arts, engineering, science, and social science, among other fields. architectural education prepares students to embrace the real world by entering a myriad of design professions, as well as venturing into many uncharted territories. So the speakers chosen for this lecture series all studied architecture in university, but turned out doing much more than architecture in life. Apart from Mathias, we have also invited Winnie Ho, the Secretary for Housing in Hong Kong, and also Jiang Zeng, the former Secretary of Finance, to talk to us in October about how architecture has shaped their career and lives. Without further ado, let me invite Mathias to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Chang. Thank you for joining tonight. Okay. So, this is when I joined Hong Kong U 88. There's a different hairstyle. And this is when I left Hong Kong U. I get this letter in 92. There's a letter from Professor Lai about the year out program. But I need to explain a little bit before I talk about my presentation today, because I'm more accidental in a way, because I get very good grade in economics and mathematics, so I thinking study economics when I was in UK, and then I accidentally and at those days study economics is not usually you study professional subjects like engineers or architects, and then I end up spending a term at University of Kahn, studying law and accounting, 3 months at Canterbury, which is a very nice town. But then not for me, because I enjoy the intellectual process of studying law, but then it's not my. And then I met someone studying at the AA, and then he showed me at the AA, and then there was a show at the Royal Academy about Foster, Rogers, and Griffiths about the work. So, and I go to the AA, and then they have a foundation program, and then I start my architectural journey at the AA doing the foundation program in the 80s. And at that time, AA is a very interesting school, because it's a private school, and then it's all the senior and juniors are mingled together. And then at that period of time, a lot of crazy people are teaching there, and then there are no senior or junior, and there are also some a lot of Hong Kong students. Most of them turn out not doing architecture. I mean, some doing fashion, like the GOD Douglas, he's also at the AA, and a lot of them. Some doing IT business also. And then I met someone who is the alumni of Hong Kong U and AA. He studied at the Hong Kong U in the 50s, and then live in London. And then I met him, and then I discussed with him. And then because the fee is pretty high, so I'm thinking, and then he recommended me to, why not just do a first degree first, and then do the AA deep later, because that might be more economically make more sense. And those foundation program in AA actually really opened my eyes. And actually, there are so many lecture not related to architecture, a lot of philosopher, like like Derrida, Stephen Hawking, they are giving talks. And I remember Peter Cook spent a whole day with all the foundation program students talk about whether we would die for architecture. And then he asked each student, whether you would die. And then Peter Cook is probably, if you study archigram, and a lot of his students are. And I met Chen Jiayi, Singapore, and because it's very interesting. They're all mingled. The seniors and the junior all mingled. So I met a lot of people. And then one thing really important for me during this is there's one program about this book, dedicated to this book, The Art of Memory. And I think this is a very interesting, a very important book for me as to kick off my artistic or architectural journey, because it's not talking about, it's more in the intellectual aspect of what is the origin of art and what is the origin of architecture. Because during the beginning, there's no phone, there's no book, even there's no book. So art and architecture is a way for people to learn, or to not to appreciate, but they have a certain function of art. Because, like for example, they don't have a camera, so they use painting to create a memory of that. And this is a very classic book about a memory system in the West, how they start to learn, how they create architecture for people to learn how to memorize, because the book is very rare. So when you are learning, you need to create a system to absorb the knowledge, and architecture is one of the means for them. And this book actually is a very, and at the AA there's this special 10 seminar that I remember that tutor called Dale, and and this book I recommend. It's a very deep book. It's not easy to understand, but it's an interesting book. And then I met Eric because the alumni I met in London wrote a recommendation recommending me study in. So I'm not getting in Hong Kong U from a formal way, He recommended me, and Eric met me, and I have a interview with him and present what I did. And I did for the foundation program, I did a research on Giacometti, the sculptor, and I did an installation on Giacometti. So I discussed with Eric, and then after that interview, I'm not expecting anything, but then I get accepted. So I'm very grateful and to be back, because I miss Hong Kong, and I also and 90s in Hong Kong are very exciting, and coming back, and I can save my parents some money to come back. So very good. And then orientation, and then the orientation at that time is maybe different. I don't know what the day one, and then there is some one-to-one session with a senior, and then the senior give me talking to me about practicing architecture. The most important aspect of practicing architecture is to build good relation with the senior, good relation with everyone. So, but then I was thinking, okay, I want to practice architecture. Okay, then relation is part of it, but not everything. So I'm thinking whether I make a mistake to coming back. Because it's very different from the ecology is very different from what I've been at the AA, but then surprisingly, it's fantastic because Eric, Professor Lai, he did something very different for that year. We spent the whole first year visiting artists, Hong Kong artists in Hong Kong, learning what's happening in Hong Kong. Like this is a Han Chi Fan. He's a very great. His work was in and we used to call Hong Lok Dai Ha, but it's in Jardine. It's called Jardine House now. He's one of the greatest painter in Hong Kong, but he always draws circle. So we visit his home, and we go to a lot of different genre, like he's from 岭南派，就是ink, and then the Frog King. You must know he's a puppet. He's still working. He still do a lot of puppet art. He's very interesting, and then we also remember we visit him as one of the. He live in Hong Ham, and then we bring char siu rice box because he's like a homeless. He's more like a homeless person. So there's one curator, Lau Gin Wai. He bring us a bunch of students visiting him, and then talk about public art and talk about public space. I mean, that's really eye-opening for me, and then it's also very. And then also met. At that time, comparative literature, Abbas was there. This is a very interesting book, I think, about culture and the politics of disappearance. So it's a kind of prophecy of what's happening in Hong Kong. But it was a very interesting book. He write about Wong Kar-wai films, and he write about a culture in Hong Kong, how that fit into the context. And I go to his lecture a lot. And then another thing very important for me is Eric and Zhong. Zhong is here tonight, and they invite Danny Yung, who is at that time artistic director of Zuni, to give a talk about experimental theater, because Danny is also study architecture at Berkeley. And then we met, and then we go to see his show. It's called Decameron. It's a more kind of conceptual, visually. It's not a storytelling. It's not a drama. It's a lot of visuals, transformation of light and sound, a more abstract thing, and then kickstart my journey, and then my first work, my first theater work was in '91. It's called Memories of Sea at Fringe Club, and it is about Corbusier, because as we all know, he died. He that 60 years ago, when after he swim every day. So I more kind of poetic poetry reading, and then it was in Fringe Club. So I make this frame installation, and then so it's more experimenting light and space, and more a kind of that's how I start. And Zuni is a very open platform at that time, and then we can do different projects, and then the other projects that is, and also I start work with Danny for his project, other project. But for my project, there's also another project which I think I would like to share with you. It's called the Blue and Brown Book. It's about Wittgenstein, because maybe for the reason why I like to practice architecture, but I don't think I can practice architecture in Hong Kong, because we spend a lot of time doing paperwork rather than doing architecture. We call paper architect, but in Hong Kong there are many paperwork architects. We spend a lot of time handling a lot of documents. Actually, the whole Hong Kong is like a paperwork-driven community. You see, and I don't want to do that. So that's why I apply for not doing the year out, and then I want to, and because I also repeat my second year, for some reason all my exam fail, and then I have to retake the second year. But my design I passed my design, get a good grade, but then and then I have to retake the second year, and that second year I do a lot of project with Zuni, and also work at some local architect firms, so I know a little bit about what's happened. So I try to not doing the year out and then go straight to MArt. But then it's against IA, But that is again IA, and I have to. But a very nice, Eric wrote me a very nice letter about, I just, when I tied up my library the other day, I just find this letter. I was, so I like to, and I was thinking this letter is very important to me because not because I really want to study architecture, but then maybe there are many different ways to practice architecture. So, and I also think if I'm not coming back, then I won't meet Danny. If I won't meet Danny, I won't work with Zuni for other projects. And because of working with Danny, I have an opportunity to work with, work in China, work in Tokyo, Japan, and many other places to explore the theater concept. And this work is after I graduate. I do at Art Center. It's about Wittgenstein and Wang Jingwei. Wang Jingwei is he's supposed to be a traitor. He surrendered to the Japanese and the former government in Nanjing. But then and there's a very interesting telegram he issued from Vietnam declaring that he's going to surrender to the Japanese and form a new government. But in Chinese, it's a very interesting word. It's called yen. It's called erotic, the telegram of erotic beauty, and there are two parallel. The whole performance is about smoke. So most of the time, the audience will see smoke, so like this, and then I'm playing with projection and lighting, and that kind of thing. And for me, I think practicing architecture is about space, and it's also about experience. And talking about experience, in '95, because I think I go for a run for election for urban council, because urban council is a kind of a platform that decides a lot of public architecture design. So maybe I'm being an urban council, I can make a difference rather than practice as an architect, And but then I lost by about 200 votes in the Causeway Bay area, you see. And then this is the first project I collaborate with Danny, co-direct with Danny after working with him. And this is called Magic Flute. So we use the Mozart Magic Flute, and then I do the set. And this is about framing, because it's a city hall and it's not a deep stage. It's a concert hall. So we use a frame to convert that. And then the Hong Kong in Berlin, 2000. And this is a project I curate, and Danny is the artistic director, and I curate this bamboo pavilion. We invite Rocco to do this design, and it was built in Berlin. And I learned a lot about, because we need to dealing with building code in Germany, and the building code in Germany is very strict. But then it's strict, but then it's very different from Hong Kong, because the building authority there, they will work with you to make it happen. So they are not saying no. They're saying yes, we have to work. So we work out at the end to build this bamboo thing, and a good learning exercise for me about building code in Hong Kong and Germany, because in Hong Kong we have building code for bamboo, but in Germany it do not. So it's a kind of interesting thing, and to be and architecture and theater, I think it's very similar, because it's about real time, real space. Because like now it's real. Architecture is real. We are building something real. It's not just image. Because nowadays we are so obsessed by the image with the phone. But for architect or theater director, we are creating something new. We are handling time elements, space elements, sound, movement, images. We are handling real people, so it's real. So and for this part, I like to present about the free Louis. I start with Louis. The Louis Kahn project. I'm thinking whether we could use theater as a platform to present architectural ideas. So and that was the beginning of the web, that website come up. And then I find some recording of Louis Kahn. I read a lot of his book, but I never heard his voice. So this project is we are playing with a jazz band, and then a lot of different elements, and then we do a lot of live mixing of Louis Kahn images and sketches. So is it the recording? This is, and then I do a second version. Okay, let's listen to Louis Kahn's voice.
I honor beginning. Of all things, I honor beginning. I believe, though, that what was has always been, and what is has always been, and what will be has always been. And up to now, as it will always be, there is no such thing as architecture. There is the spirit architecture, but it has no presence whatsoever. What does have presence is a work of architecture, and at best it must be considered as an offering to architecture itself, merely because of the wonder of its beginning.
So the second version, we moved to a big theater in Cheng, and then I built this this is a real one-to-one. This is a real actor, and actor is called Kim Kok Leung, and he's a very senior. He's like the master. He's like the godfather of TV drama script in Hong Kong. And then we work, and then he interviewed me once, and then we start work together. And I look at his face. He looks like that's him. He looks like. So we're playing around with this idea.
Of the incredible sense, the marvel of the immersion of the color, to express hate, to express love. I see wonderful things, or intangible things.
I think joy is a key word.
So this is more like a experimentation of using, at that time, a projection technology. All the image are live, present like a DJ, like DJing. So the operator, the video artist, they are live operating and interacting with the musician. And the second project I did about architects is Mies, because Mies is, as you all know, this is one of the famous about universal space. Universal space convention center that it can have infinite possibility. I think it's like a theater space, because in a theater space you can have ballet, you can have drama, you can have whatever. And I did this piece pure architectonic. There's it's not a drama. It's more like I work with a composer doing electronic music, very hardcore electronic music, and we have, and then I built this set. This is the set, about 6 meter high, and then it is based on the Lakeshore Drive apartment, and I just take out the frame because the whole show is about the transformation of perspective and the way how we look at space. Because at that period of time, there's still no concept of immersive yet, technologically speaking, but we can use a theater space to experiment the transformation using the stage hanging system of different things. And then we play with the visual transformation using digital image, and then we do three times. And the third time I invite a comic artist called Lei Zidat. He's a very interesting comic artist, and then he draw Mies. And then we create this 8 meters high Mies statue, and then 100 minutes transformation of space experience. I'll show you a little bit of it. And then the third architect, actually I start with Corbusier, and then I did the, it's called CORBU, and I work with a German digital artist who is creating a lot of avatar. At that period of time, the XR, AR concept just evolved, so we are playing with a lot of and about about Corbusier, 5 points of architecture. And also about one of the a small book Corbusier written about his small house at near the seaside, and we transformed that into a drama piece, and with the Louis Kahn thing. So we do a mix, and I did another piece mixing them two together in the same show. The first half is about Corbusier, the second half is about Kahn, and then the second part I like to talk about is architecture is memory. I did this piece 25 years ago about using the Stanley Kubrick Space Odyssey soundtrack, and then work with musician and composer on that. At that period of time, Hong Kong is like that in Mong Kok. So you see, and now it's very different. And then I published a few books about Hong Kong, and then I create a show using the image of it. But I won't show it. I won't show it here because I think no. Okay. Because I think you can see it in YouTube. I don't want to show you here. I talk a little more about this is the one I like, because another book which also very important for me is the Aldo Rossi, The Architecture of the City. I think Aldo Rossi is not just he's not just an interesting design architect. He also wrote this book about Europe history of typology and how politics transform the way how architects or how politics power define architecture and cities. So I adopt this book into a music mixed drama show, and then I work with a costume designer. At first I build a typical Hong Kong. It's about Hong Kong scaffolding. And then I create a costume based on artifacts, rubbish, recyclable rubbish, and on that, and also a rock band and a pianist called KJ Wong. He's a classical pianist, and then we play around more like a concert and poetry reading show. 你想起了什么？你忘记了什么？你离开城市这边所有的生命体呢，它有开始、衰老、衰老，还有溶解，那个他忘记了城市有什么本质？知道一个人，他知道一个城市有什么本质？离开一个人，他离开一个城市有什么分别？想象一个人，他想象一个城市有什么分别？喜欢一个人，他喜欢一个城市有什么分别？ And then it's also about memory. There's a book by Jonathan Span about the memory palace of Mataritchi. And then I work with Tan Hao Jiang, a very opera singer from Beijing. And we adopt this book into an opera, but it happened in a chapel in one of the Huayan College in Kowloon Sai. It's a real. And then there's a puppet. There's also digital puppet, and there's also live projection in a real Catholic chapel. So this is a chapel, a modernist design in Mong Kok area. It's a very interesting design architecturally. And in the 60s, there are many architecture in Hong Kong are built in this kind of a modernist motif. So we did, I think, 5 shows here. So, and then the next part, as we all said, architecture is real and theater is real. There's another thing I always thinking about is we always use stunning, we always use excitement about anything nowadays, but could technology or could architecture be mindfulness? So I'm very honored to work with Master Hin Hong Fa Si, who is here today, and also Master Zhang Qi Fa Si. He's specialized in Buddha chanting, and we build up. We're using this Hua Yan Sutra. It's one of the most important sutra in Buddha teaching, and it talk a lot about light. It's very different from Bible. Bible talk about, but the Buddha talk a lot about light, about what is real. And there's a lot of not just text, but there's also ritual, chanting. So I like to use modern technology, projection, new materials to present the Buddha teaching of the Hua Yan Sutra, and to experiment. And there's live chanting. There's also some part about concept of Buddha teaching. So it's more education. Part is educational. Part is about what is the concept of Hua Yan Sutra. And this is the image of the live projection, and the chanting is synchronized with the projection. So we are also testing using technology that synchronize vocal and music and visual, and the text chanting are projected with the calligraphy of a Taiwan calligrapher called Dong Yangzi. So it's a kind of modern way to present a Buddha ritual, but the ritual has audio-visual elements, as we all now call it immersive. So we do it a different version. So I show you. So there is a screen in front of the, and then it was project. What they chant is the text of what they chant. So it's synchronized. So you would say it's a little bit like karaoke, you see. But then it's for people to learn or to visually and also the audioly synchronize. So this is some of the image, and I use new materials so that, because like a Buddha sculpture always is gold. Why? Because they want to reflect light. At that period of time, they don't have light, so they need to build gold statue so that it can reflect with the light. So I use this is a new materials that and this is also we further explore during the COVID period that participants are wearing masks, but then we create using immersive audio. The performer are breathing together with the audience.
Hua Yan Sutra is the big data
using
of all the Buddha script. But the idea is the meeting notes of Buddha with all his followers and students. So it is the script of the script. This Buddha script is related to chanting tradition, that they will take them 7 days or even longer to chant the whole script.
So the technology is not just to make you excited,
like,
but
how you breathe, and then from your breathing you make sound. The breathing defines who you are. The reason why we chant is part of the self-discovery. And we use
immersive projection. So the projection is, the laser projector is very powerful, so it looks like real.
There's one chapter talk about light, how light creates a world. So the light is a metaphor of enlightenment to bright up your mind, and the light is also a reflection of your mind.
Then I also did a project with Heart Sutra. And during the COVID period, because there's a lot of limitation that we are not allowed to, probably we all know, then we create a 3D environment. You remember this device that testing your temperature? So we put it in the theater, so everyone have to touch it, and then we program the Heart Sutra script. So when they touch it, the Heart Sutra script will be you will hear the one sentence from the Heart Sutra script. So if you touch all the sensor, you will listen to all the Heart Sutra script. So we use projection, also 4 sides of mirrors. And you can see the okay. I think I'm going to finish with this. Professor Tsang just mentioned I did a drama about 100 years of architecture. Actually, it's in 2 parts. One is about Liang Shicheng跟林徽因. Actually, I didn't write anything new. I just used all their writings and all their lectures and then compose it into a drama. And then the second part is about Jiang Xin and Pan Shiyi, which is one of the most important developers in modern China, because they introduced a lot of very interesting concepts in Beijing, which really modernized the way how architecture are practiced. So I put these 2 powerful couple, like a first part and second part, and then it is to see the contrast. One is very idealistic to preserve the history, and the other half is about how to modernize China, how real estate can really make Chinese architecture better. So it's a drama piece. So it's about architecture, and this
好建筑必定得实用、坚固、美观，缺一不可。实用者切合当地地理环境，切合当地人民生活习惯，不违背主要材料之合理结构原则，在寻常环境下不失其相当永久性。美观者具有合理的权衡，不是上重下轻、蔚然欲清，上大下小是不可知，要呈现稳重、自然、舒适的外表。更要诚实地呈露全部及部分的功用，不是掩饰，不矫揉造作，勉强堆砌。
Okay, this is about Bauhaus, and I did a piece about Bauhaus for children, especially for children, about shape, color, proportion, materials, and architecture. So it's for kids, and we use a shape and of that, and play around with technology, how the children can not looking at the space rather than looking at the phone. So this is also another piece I did, and sorry about my presentation a little bit too long. And I think I finished here. And see, and we can have some dialogue or Q&A. Yeah, thank you.
We'll do a Q&A, and I'll just use the
No,
mic. Actually, I was just thinking about when I actually heard of Mathias. Actually, I heard of Mathias when I arrived here to Hong Kong 15 years ago, but only took about 15 years to meet him. there was many occasions, like Agnes Lin mentioned that you got to see it's actually theaters and such. But I remember one particular memory of encountering Mathias. We were in Lantou, invited by the dean, and I remember he was talking about paper architecture. He actually was not talking about paper, he was talking about paper architects, what he was referring. When I went to his architectures in the 90s, we had a term called paper architecture. They were actually referring as architects are very progressive, and also it was a particular time when there was no chance to build, and architects used the medium of the paper to have these dialogues. And of course, during that time, there was a resistance that was saying that, well, let's take architecture away from paper. There was, in Columbia University, it was once called the paperless studio architecture. It's when you never print the drawings. It's always remained digital. So when Mathias mentioned about paper architecture, I couldn't understand what he was, I was trying to figure out what he really meant for about 30 minutes. Hong Kong is paper architecture, and I was thinking, is it
Paperwork.
Paperworks.
Paperwork architecture.
But the thing that I was trying to figure out, what is that? Then he started saying, it's paper pushing. And then I started to realize, is that a pretty radical movement in here? But Mathias, I want to ask, before we open up to the floor, I want to ask you, because your work seems to be a lot of describing many movements in this period. If you look at 100 years architecture, there's actually not just Bauhaus, but there's a lot of mini movements that happen between them. And you seem to be also operating kind of like a mini movements in your works, meaning that if architecture could be another alternative of practice and having a discussions.
Maybe because Hong Kong is so extreme, the way how architecture are practiced in Hong Kong, as we all see our built environment, even in this campus, the regulation is so stiff, and then the engineer are only focusing on building bigger column, and then there's no architect cannot involve in detailed design. So somehow, actually, I like to practice architecture in Hong Kong, but I cannot practice architecture like I want to be. But in the theater, I can practice architecture as the way I like. So I can discuss about a lot of ideas, but it's experimental, but then it's also application. For example, I work with Wallace on this project at Lai Ziwo. When we do a children theater study, I think theater is a practical, very practical business. It's not theoretical. It's real. Theater is real because we have to hang the line, we have to get the speaker connected so it can make sound. So people have a poetic ideas about theater. Actually, theater is very practical. So I think like architecture. So I'm thinking about the next generation. So we initiate this study about children theater, children art space design, and with a Japan with a theater consultant in Japan, because theater consultant in Japan is a very they treat theater like a religion. So when you go to Japan, Japan have a lot of fantastic theater, best concert hall, best theater in the world, even a school hall, even a secondary school hall, the way how they design it is very good. The cost is very low, but then it's very good to use for architects. So this program we do this. This is a manual. You can watch this. If you are interested, you can go to Zuni website. You can find out. And then we actually realized it. Me and Wallace built this children theater space. Actually, it's very simple. So we have a space for children to play, and then we have a space for children and the parents to hang out, and then we have a black box. And we're using new technology inside the black box. So this is at the Lai Ziwo, and this is the playground, because usually for kids show it can't longer than 30 minutes, usually 20 to 30 minutes, and then there have to be a play space for them to play. So Wallace designed this bamboo scaffolding, and then I designed this black box theater inside for 40 people with kids and parents. and then and talk about the Chinese 24, the season of, because in Chinese we have this special ideas of for 24, we break down the 4 seasons into 24 sections, okay? And like the summer, so this is the playground for the kids to play. And then this, the idea is to bring the family, because during the COVID, they stay at home. So we bring the family to Lai Ziwo, take a 1-hour boat trip, and then we present what is farming, what is agriculture, and using a more kid-friendly way, immersive way, and also technologically, you can see we use a lot of projection, but technologically now it's feasible because the projector is getting smaller and more powerful, and we don't need power generator, we just need simple battery. And the sound system too. So we can set up a very professional theater in a rural area that we don't need to bring in a lot of infrastructure. And also we make this AR, so the kids can learn about the insect, the frog. There are 4 types of insect in the area. So we also mix with AR. So I work with some programmer to develop this app. So it's more like a total experience, not just inside the theater. The idea is to get them outside. But you don't need to, you can see this is on our website. I don't want to show it now here. So what your question is, we are not, actually we are not a movement. We are just doing what we can do in Hong Kong, because in Hong Kong, the idea is we just do what we can do, you know, and with the limitation, and this is what we can do, and because for me the practice of architecture is more intellectual exercise, but you see in Hong Kong intellectual for me architecture is an intellectual process, and the intellectual process can be anything. And I think the foundation, and for me the maybe practicing one, I think architecture for me, why is it so good with me is because I don't want to just write. I want to put my writing into something real, into a show or into an exhibition or into something. Yeah.
Maybe I could open to the floor if you have any burning questions.
Thank you for this wonderful lecture. I think most of your work are more architecture than most of the buildings that we design. And I wonder if you can share, because most of your the works you introduce here are the products, the finished products that you have done. And now I wonder if you can introduce the process, how, especially how the team worked together to get this concept into the real thing. And also I think because this is some are installation and the performing arts, it's particularly useful for example, the transitional housing, and the people living there quite a boring life. So this temporary installation or performing art can really bring architectural element into that temporary communities. And I wonder if you can share, for example, one thing you set the music as the structure, and then you set the multimedia as the forms, right? And then you have the performing roles. This could be the users of the spaces. So I wonder, this kind of work, how did you, how did the team work together? Because obviously you need different professions of people and different disciplines coming together. If you set the music at a certain structure, the rhythms, a certain structure, and then you match it with the form and the performing roles. How did this come together? Did you have a musician to, or do you have a master concept to deliver it to the musician to do, make this structure or the form, or they spontaneously come together, or do you have a team working a long time collaboration, and so you come up together with this synthesis of ideas?
I think the practice of theater and architecture is similar because it's a teamwork. So like architect work with engineers, work with different contractors and a client, I think theater too. But because theater a little bit more open-end is because we require less resources. It's not, and I quote you an example. I work with a lot of Kun opera artists in China, in Nanjing, and the way how we work is we start from the space, because traditionally Kun opera perform in a courtyard space, and they have no mic, a natural voice. But nowadays they have to face a new situation that they have to face 1,000 audience. You see, so the way how we work is we will bring in a new technology so that we can tune the audio sounds like natural. So sound like the audience will, the sound engineer, that I work with the sound engineer, and then how the sound engineer understand the quality of Kun opera, which is very different from Western musical or opera, because Chinese Kun opera is very deep bass and the range is very wide, very deep and very high pitch. So it's not, in the West it's in the middle. So we need to understand the science of it, and then how we could create a sound system that can reconstruct a spatial feeling of the audio rather than just amplify the music. So I think this is one way that, and also you mentioned about housing. The children arts study, the children arts-based study is a very, it's not just for fun, it's for education, because when we're doing the study, in Hong Kong we have a very interesting situation. Most of the kindergarten are learning how to talk or how to write, but in Europe or in Japan or in Korea, or even in China, a lot of kindergarten are learning color, are learning art. So Hong Kong is a very unique. In all the kindergarten are teaching you how to speak like a grown up, and then how to write, that's very, very interesting, very interesting. And there's not much art education in Hong Kong, even from a kindergarten level. So the art space menu that I work with Wallace on that is, so the designer or the school operator, they can base on that to develop a space for teaching. But the teaching is playing, it's not teach, it's for children to play, but with technology. So, which means, as we all know nowadays, so when the kids, they just throw them a phone and then they are with the phone all the time, okay? So how can we create technology that can, the experience of technology, not from the phone, but from the space? And it's possible because of lighting, sound, and the new elements. So we create this chart that, if you are doing, like in theater too, we use materials for building set, costume. So how can we, if we are doing a space for kids, what we need to consider, we have a flow chart here. And then for spatial arrangement, there are different, how to arrange it. So we have this kind of tools. So I would say that team, as an architect, the architect training is very good for me to practice as a theater director, is because I look at the theater as intellectual problem-solving exercise. So like when I design a hospital, I need to understand how doctors and nurses work. I need to know the workflow. So I'm not just designing an iconic building, because nowadays the problem is always talk about iconic building, but then the iconic building have no space inside. It's like an empty bag. It's like a very expensive LV bag, but there's nothing inside. The bag is very expensive, you see. But there are a lot of architecture are more like a packaging, rather than you just mentioned about housing. Yes, housing has a lot of potentials, but then the issue is whether we can dig deep enough on the issue. I think working with Zuni over my last 3 decades, I'm very grateful that I work with a good team, that we are willing to dig deep on a lot of things. So like the sound engineer, we can really work, and they are interested in what they are doing. So somehow the Louis Kahn thing always inspired me. Is he's not talking about how great architecture is, he's talking about what is good to be practicing architecture. So like the audio parts I just present you. So I would say also maybe because, as I said in the beginning, I'm more like a hybrid person. So mathematics and reading, I'm okay. So I'm more like a both sides. So I can really handle numbers and also handle abstracting wells. And I think that's also one of the good things about architecture is it's about mixing. It's not about just very monolithically doing one thing. Yeah.
We have some question from the second year undergraduate here.
Thank you so much. I truly feel very mesmerized by theater architecture after this, and I really want to like watch once or your kind of your curated experiences. So I want to know, like, to me, I think that most of your projects looks like something that like the themes came up by somebody else. If you are to really create one theater architecture performance that is created by your own, what would be the theme and how you would like it to be? Thank you.
I did, but then I don't have. I did, and so like I just did a kids shows written. It's about. This is about calligraphy. Actually, no, I don't. This is. I did this about teaching kids about Gugong Palace as a musical. So I wrote a musical for kids, and actually I work with a comic artist with a comic book about Gugong architecture, and it's in a comic form. We talk about what is 天圓地方, what is central access, what is the concept of a courtyard house, but in a more playful way. We have songs, and then because and then we are using avatar and then puppet, and we are using this kind of immersive projection, a free laser projector projecting a more like a 180 degrees screen. So a very immersive way to, and then also singing with the kids and then playing with the kids. So, but then when we perform, we will introduce the book so that when they go back, they can really recap or learn more about what is inside. And this is this is another project I did 10 years ago about we designing cultural center. So I do a study at the waterfront. Very functional. It's not. It's because a lot of theater space in Hong Kong are not professionally designed. There's, for example, a lot of functional issues. So the way I do it, I just since I'm a venue partner there for many years, so I understand the situation. I just improve it and then build something that is functional or expand more space for that. And then there's another project I'm planning. You see there's a lot of this kind of thing around in Hong Kong. Very interesting thing. And I try to adopt this into an installation. Maybe in the future it will happen, I don't know. I try to build this whole thing surround with this bamboo scaffolding and then integrating with a lot of LED light so that it become a light box. Because nowadays it's very easy to do this kind of LED lighting thing. So it's more like a 3-dimensional LED screen rather than a 2-dimensional one, you see. Okay. So if you check out the Zuni website, you will find a little bit more about our YouTube channel. We have I do too many work, so you can. Because one thing is because we're getting government funding, and the government funding in Hong Kong, they always want you to do more, to justify, like the paperwork. You need to have a thicker paperwork than you get, So we are structured so that we have to do a lot of things. But anyway, we take it as a challenge, so we do many things. And then we also work with Jockey Club on some art tech project. We have internships, so if any one of you are interested, you can come and join and play. It's open for everyone. Yeah, and that's the good way to learn and to understand more about what we are doing. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the talk, and I really like your works because they are so poetic and very intellectual, as well as very innovative and very experimental. So as a thinker myself, because I usually like to think a lot when I'm walking around the city and starting my project, out of all the factors, for example, like lighting, framing, journey, sound, images, movement, all these factors, what is the first factor that you will consider first when you start your project? What's the factor that you prioritize the most when you start your project? Yeah, thanks.
How much time and how much money I have.
Besides that, maybe.
Practical.
But that is the fundamentals.
Yeah.
Unless it depends. For example, if you say I do a writing, I do a painting, then I can just draw what I can design what I can do. But if I'm doing a project, there are different kind of framework. But time, space, and resources are the fundamentals, no matter what. And somehow you need to define it, or sometimes the client define it, or sometimes in Hong Kong the building code define it. There are many different kind of framework, and you need to understand the framework. Usually I will understand the framework before I start working. So I know the boundary, and then I can test out the boundary rather than no boundary, because everything has boundary, So everyone have to go to sleep or have to go to, there's always a boundary. So we need to understand. So your question, I would say, first I will understand the boundary of each project, and then based on the boundary, see what I can experiment or what I could do. But the boundary is a concept. It's not a definite. How would I say? It's not a definite solution. Every different person have different boundary. So like someone can no need to sleep for 10 days. Okay, some people have to sleep 10 hours. But then we have to understand our own boundary. So it's more personal. So for me, my way of working is I always want to understand the boundary, and the practice of architecture also changing. So like in the modernist era, we are talking about concrete, steel, glass, air condition. But nowadays we have new boundary. We have Wi-Fi, we have network, we have tracker, we have LED light, we have immersive audio, we have tracker, we have new server, super server that can control a lot of things. Actually, it's a new language. It's a new language. I think architect facing a lot of challenge, and I think AI can take over most of the paperwork architect job in Hong Kong.
Thank God.
Yeah. Yeah, it's but then AI can only generate image. They cannot generate space unless become matrix. You plug something into your brain and then, but it not happened yet. You see, so I would say now we are in a very interesting period. That is, it's like the modernists. It's like when Bauhaus and Corbusier start new architecture. We can start new architecture, but not on the screen, but in the real space. That's I think we can explore in Asia. I think Asia or in Hong Kong or in China, there are many people are working on this thing. Technology is undeniable. And also I would say why we are doing a lot with kids is because I think kids, I'm very concerned about that. The kids only look at this and then end up blind. So can we create space that they can enjoy the technology rather than manipulate by the technology? I mean, this is also an architect or designer challenge. Not just creating iconic building. We have enough iconic building. Don't you agree?
Questions in the back, and then we'll come in the front here. Yes.
So thank you so much for your lecture. It's very inspiring, and I'm like an architectural designer in my early career, so I'm very interested in your opinion about what essential skills you can bring as an architect to the theater industry. So what makes an architect irreplaceable in this industry, if that's the correct word to say? Because you also already mentioned theater is a very practical industry, and you also mentioned that technology is a word you bring about a lot of times, and the intellectual thinking that you learn in architecture school. But what kind of the essential skills you can bring to the whole team in theater?
Actually, because in Hong Kong, because of the real estate business is so big that it dictates architectural form, and the government building code is so rigid, it's getting very, very rigid. There's not much space for architect or designer to design. So, but then we talk about the positive side, or the architect skill can apply into a lot of areas. If you start you don't need a license to start a restaurant. You don't need an architect license to design a restaurant or F&B, entertainment. There's an architect called Mark Fisher. You check it out. In the 90s, he's also one of the teachers at the AA called Mark Fisher. He designed a lot of very cool show for Jean-Michel Jarre. Jean-Michel Jarre is now Gong Li's husband. He's one of the French electronic music composer, and he did a lot of fantastic show. So what I would suggest is you need to find your own interest in the area that you are interested, and then try to apply your architectural skill on it, rather than just let the HKIA frame you. And honestly, unless you want to work as a bureaucrat, you need a license. But then the issue in Hong Kong, we also have AP, which you don't need to be an architect to be an AP. And a lot of engineers are AP. So it's make a little bit, complicated. Maybe you can be a good real estate developer in the future. There are many possibilities. I think architecture is a skill for you to do a lot of things. And the question you just asked is, in a very practical way, for example, like lighting designer, sound designer, if you have architectural basic learning, you can enter those areas more easier than other people, because architecture have the skills of research, analyze, and create, the 3 steps. You know, I think what we learn from architect school is we do research, we analyze the research, and then we create. That's the 3 steps. But somehow, in reality, maybe it's different. But then this 3 steps is very important. But it can apply to different business. You can be a good businessman too. So I know an AA person who is one of the who is in IT. He's the kind of in the 90s. He built one of the biggest web designer in Asia. You know. Then maybe because of the mindset is not to be a licensed architect, but to practice architecture, and then he can practice in different way. But then the reality, as we all know, a lot of big architect firms are getting smaller and smaller in Hong Kong. So a lot of young people, they work for the government more and more because the government have vacancy. So. But then that's a different issue. But I would suggest my experience is because everyone is different. I'm not the answer. I'm not the answer of your question. But I could provide you some of my reference for you. But then at the end of the day, you have to pick. But in terms of the industry, for example, like theme park design, there are theme park design program. Also. Hospital design, there are many aspects. Whether you want to focus, like a theater design consultant, Hong Kong is monopolized by only 2 and 3 firms, Arab, and then only 3 firms. Most of our design, they're just reproducing the same design for everything. Because I read a lot, and then theater design, they are also you check out ABTT. Association of British Theatre Technicians, they have a theatre designer conference that present new ideas of theatre design, and then now web is very convenient for you to take out all this information nowadays. And then, but it sounds like a career talk, but I'm not a career talk. But I'm telling you that studying architecture is good, but good. I'm for sure 100% is good, but then. Practice is another thing, you see. But then you can choose the way how to practice of what you learn, you see.
There's always a saying that if you're in a dinner table with 30 people in Italy, at least one person will be an architect.
Yeah. But actually, one thing I would suggest, because Winnie is coming to talk, you know, ask Winnie. Because Winnie can create a lot of opportunity for architect, like the housing one. I always pushing her, I always sending WhatsApp. You know, do this, do that, and she's not happy, you see. And then
here today. Huh? She was here 2 weeks ago, but not here today.
Not 2 weeks ago? She's already here already?
She came for Yung Ho's opening talk. We missed you. You wasn't here.
Oh, but she's giving a talk later. Yeah, she's giving a talk later.
Yes.
Yes. Ask her. We don't have a decent design competition. What is best is to engage faculty to design something. Minor works is called Hong Kong. That's called minor works. 27 million minor works. So commission each faculty to do a minor works and lead the student to do it. Then you know what is real. You know.
Send us the information then.
Hello, I'm eager to architecture students, and I'm quite interested in digital media, such as curating digital media exhibition, like something like TeamLab. And you, as a director of different digital media performing art show, and I want to ask you, how did you actually get into this industry? Is there any internships?
Yeah, we have internship. You check out our website, and then we have different art tech program that for different all the fundamentals. But then I think that we also Henderson, the developer Henderson just gave us a space very near Hong Kong U. So we have a lab there. So we test out a lot of lighting and sound ideas. And one thing you should watch out, check that out. It's called touch design. Touch, Touch, touch design. This is a very interesting program. This is the future. This is now. This is a kind of visualization coding. It's an underground program. It's not formally taught, but there are so many teaching programs in YouTube. And for young people like you, you should learn, because it is like a software that you can connect lighting, a lot of different devices, and then create experience. You check that out in IG, and then you know what I'm talking. It's a very open-end software. A lot of people in Spain, in Europe, in Japan, they are testing it. And I think this is the future of experience. And I think for architect in the future, it's about creating experience rather than a long-term experience or experience or immersive experience or teach or learning experience or medical experience or mindfulness experience. So you are welcome to check out our program and then see what we can, you can try out, yeah. But touch design, yeah.
You mentioned that you got a lot of inspiration for architects that actually writes, you know, and they always write about, not because they write about memory, they want to write it so they can lock the memories in place. And she was asking about the question that I think the kind of role of an architect will be important is the communication, which they can do very well, orally, visually, sonically, and etc. But one I'd like to ask you, because you said that her question came up and said, you start to work with Danny when you're in your second year.
First year.
First year, and she's in her second year right now.
Yeah.
Do you think there's still, when you're thinking about the idea of not working, but actually start to collaborate with people and start the projects rather than working? Is it rather than looking for jobs, to create jobs?
Create jobs?
No, nothing governmental, bureaucratic, yeah. But idea is this thing that all this initiative could be started while you're still a student.
Yes, 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 and also as a student you have more time.
Are you sure?
I mean, you get. I mean, maybe we have more time when we don't have phone at that when I was young. We don't have internet. We still use hand to draw. We still use the hand to draw working drawings, you know. So, but actually, I don't think it's an excuse because young people have more time. Because as we get older, we have to handle a lot of politics. We have to do a lot of paperwork. We have to do a lot of relationship, you know. We're very complicated. But then when you are younger, it's more pure because you are just learning. So, what Thomas is asking is, I was thinking a school should be like why I always mention I was at the AA because AA really inspired me a lot of way. I only stayed there a very short period of time, but then most of my friends are from the AA, you know, and I go back many times. So I was always thinking a school. It's like a playground. It's like a playground. So I think workshop is important. So like Thomas is working with building things, making things. It's good. Use your hand. Use your hand. Use your hand and use your eyes not to watch your phone, but to watch something. To watch more films. If you like films, I watch a lot of films. And when I watch film, it's not just enjoyment, but it's an intellectual exercise. The problem nowadays is most of the time, it becomes just pure sensational release. It's not, we loss of analytical power because when you watch film, you have to know you have to ask questions, the camera movement, how the director used the lighting. You know, there are many skills behind good films. It's not just, a lot of poetic films have a deep skill to make, you know, and deep is a word that we need to always remind ourselves. But yes, but for year 2 student, you have read more, read deep. Also, I'm sorry, I sound a little bit old-fashioned, but reading is not reading. Then you know AI. Then you can judge whether AI gives you good or bad stuff. You see? You see? So I have no problem of using AI because when the AI produces me the text, I will know whether it's good or not, and then I adjust it. You see? But if you don't know, if you have nothing inside, then the AI will, you know, okay.
Okay, well, we definitely need to invite Mathias for design reviews here. Tao has a question. We'll let the teacher at least finish one.
Okay, Mathias, speaking of you doing too many things, you also write a lot and doing all these TV programs, TV shows, making like severe comments on Hong Kong politics, Hong Kong policies. So I wonder, back to your theater, whether you share with the Brechet's idea, theater is an art space as well as a political device to engage with the public. What kind of that kind of ideal, social ideal of a theatrical production?
Because we cannot avoid power, because we need power to, so that's why I think the Aldo Rossi book will inspire me a lot, because you have to read it, because it's not talking about the romantic side of architecture, it's talking about the reality of architecture. And somehow artists have to be very political, because you are dealing with, you need resources to create your own artwork in a different form, you know. So I treat what you just asked is, I treat politics like architecture, because I have to research about politics, analyze about politics, and then see how I can interact or create something with the politics. And those are the 3 steps that I learned from architecture school. And I would say that's the other student asked about limitation. Since we are living in a modern society, we cannot avoid that. We cannot avoid that, you know. And the reason why I don't take the IA, I don't take the MR, is very practical one, because I make more money by not getting the license. I get a lot of freelance interior job at that time. So one of the reasons why I don't, one of the times some people advise me to go back to AA to finish my MR program. But I have a lot of job there. So there are also practical side, there are also romantic side. So that's the beauty of being a human being, because we are always dealing with this.
Okay, well, thank you very much. You know, with this, it's funny we end with this slide with the question marks. We could leave the ending with more questions that you could take with you for tonight. Mathias, thank you and thanks for having us and having you back here.
Thank you.